In a family of superheroes, you're the only one without any. Your siblings tease you so much that you go to a treatment center that gives people powers, even if you risk your life on a seemingly debunked treatment. Mr. Phillips? Edwin looked up. A nurse was stood in a doorway, leading from the waiting room into some other part of the facility. There was a clipboard in her hand. That's me, yes. The nurse nodded, and quickly leafed through the papers she was holding. She stood to one side. Go right on through, sir, the specialist will see you now. Edwin sighed, and got to his feet, trembling with nerves slightly. He breathed deeply, and walked slowly through the door. On the other side was a smaller room, that looked like a consultation room, which it probably was. 2 chairs sat against one wall, and there was a desk with a short man sat at it. There wasn't a single hair on his head, and he wore a white lab coat. He gestured at the chairs, and took the clipboard from the nurse, who then left and shut the door. Good afternoon, Mr. Phillips, the man said, in a voice with a thick accent. I am Dr. Patel, and your consultant here at Power Up Incorporated. Now, I understand that you are here today to inquire about Power Up treatment for yourself, yes? Edwin nodded. That's right. Very well. Dr. Patel looked up at Edwin. You do understand that there is a certain amount of, risk involved with our treatments? Sometimes the power given can be unstable, and cause more problems than it solves. By undergoing this treatment, you will risk your life for powers that may not actually manifest. You do realize this, yes? I do. Edwin nodded. He did. Oh, how he knew it. The power-up treatment was known to carry risks. The company had proven that nobody had ever actually died, only been maimed, but that didn't stop the rumor mills in the slightest. Edwin knew what his chances were, but he was willing to take them. Because of his family. His mother was a superhero, his father a former villain turned hero courtesy of his mother. His older sister and younger sister were heroes, his younger brother was a hero in training and his youngest brother, when he eventually popped out, would probably be a hero too. But not him. When he was tested for the superpowers, there was nothing. Not a super sausage. He was completely and utterly normal. Growing up with superpowered siblings and parents had been interesting. He'd seen his siblings learn to control their abilities, watched the news reports on his parents' deed of the day, and had been there to see his older sister catch her first villain. But, through it all, he'd been forced to endure one single thing. Insults. Derision. Teasing. His siblings teased him, joked about his normalcy, as often as other people breathed. For whatever reason his parents didn't join in, possibly because of their maturity, but his siblings, oh how they lived to tease him. Ooh, look. There goes Neville Normal again. What, fella's too weak for this super strength. It had gone on and on. Edwin had responded in every way he could think of, asking them nicely to stop, telling them how it made him feel useless, insignificant and a waste of space to be put down so often by his own flesh and blood, yelling at them to stop. Even appealing to his parents. That had only stopped the derision temporarily, they had started doing it behind his back. Everyone had their breaking point, and Edwin had reached his. Mr. Phillips? Edwin looked up, distracted from his train of thought. Yes? Just 2 questions, before we proceed. First, is there anyone in your family that you know to possess superpowers? Edwin paused. Yes, there are 1 or 2. Okay, good. Since it's possible you have a dormant super gene, that increases the likelihood of success. One other question, do you understand and acknowledge the risks mentioned before? Yes. Good. Now, I just need you to sign this document, indicating that you are aware of the risks, and we can get on with things. Edwin signed, feeling slightly giddy as he did so. This was it. The teasing would stop. His siblings would respect him at last. His parents would take notice of him. He'd finally be an equal. The villain cum hero Hephaestus, known also as Simon Phillips, sat on the porch, listening to the background noise of the suburbs. Dusk had arrived, and with it promises of imminent darkness. Fear began to knot his stomach, and he anxiously checked his watch again. It was almost 9 now. There was a sound of footsteps inside, and the door opened. His wife, Aisha, also known as Indolence, came out onto the porch, accompanied by their eldest child Samantha. Where is he? Aisha asked. There was unconcealed worry in her voice. Simon shrugged. I don't know. He always comes home by 6. His concern was also unmasked. Behind them, Samantha checked her phone. None of my texts have been answered. I've rung his mobile twice, he won't answer. Why won't he answer? Aisha looked at her husband with concern. I don't suppose it's one of your old workmates, kidnapping him, because of your defection? Samantha looked up with fear, but Simon just shook his head. I doubt it. I'd only been a villain for a month or 2 before I met you, honey. Never got to know any other villains, especially not personally. Samantha shook her head and sighed. I'm going out to look for him. Get up in the air, look around town. I'll try to be. Samantha Joan Phillips, you will do nothing of the sort. Simon interrupted. If anyone's going to look for Edwin, it will be me. Samantha sputtered for a moment. But he's my brother. I can't just stand around while God knows what happens to him. I'm powered, I can handle myself, Dad. Please, I don't want to lose him. Samantha. You're still a new hero. A lot of these streets are strangers to you, you don't know them. I do, especially at night. You, your mother, Amanda and Brody will stay here, in case he shows up. I'm going to his work, his route home, and then the police station. At the sight of his eldest child's face of fear, he softened a bit. "Don't worry, honey, I'm sure he'll be all right." And Hephaestus shot off into the night sky, leaving behind a house of worry. Dr. Patel opened the other door in the room, and Edwin saw it led to a sterile white room, with what looked like a dentist chair and some steel side cabinets. It stank of bleach, with a metallic undertone. Dr. Patel indicated the chair, and strode over to the cabinets. "Please sit down and roll up your sleeves, Mr. Phillips, and I'll begin the procedure." Edwin did so, looking around while Dr. Patel opened the cabinets, withdrawing 2 bottles and a file. There was a small drain in one corner of the room, and a faded poster with the legend, "You don't have to be superpowered to work here, but IT helps." That was singularly dull. Dr. Patel, now wearing gloves and a surgical mask, placed the items and a syringe on the table. "Now, I'll just walk you through what is going to happen. Basically, this is a 3-step procedure. First, you will receive an injection from this bottle." He held up the larger of the two, which contained a red liquid, which will mix with your bloodstream. "Next, you will be given one of the pills in this bottle. The second, smaller bottle, contained blue lozenges. What do they do? The liquid is what could be considered a base, if this was chemistry, which in some ways it is. The vial contains an activator, which can cause issues with the nervous system. That is one of the principal risks, so we give each patient one of these pills, which helps to counteract such an effect. About 1 hour after you've taken the pill, I shall give you the final injection, this vial. This will begin a chemical reaction in your body to create a super gene, or, if you have a dormant one, awaken it. Then." Edwin looked up as the doctor trailed off. "Then what?" Patel shrugged. "After that, there will be a period of about 12 hours in which any powers you might have gained will manifest themselves. If nothing happens, then, well, I'm afraid that you will not be what is considered superpower compatible. Though that is only a 5% chance. And, there is always the possibility that any powers you get will be unstable, beyond your control. Which poses a risk to all. But, don't worry. The chances of that happening are very low." Dr. Patel picked up the syringe, and prepared to insert it. He hesitated. "This is your last chance to back out, if you feel you can't go through with it. Are you absolutely sure you want to do this?" Edwin thought for a moment. He thought of the dangers, of being unable to control his powers as they ate his body, burned him to ash. And then he thought of never having any powers. Of being the black sheep of the family for the rest of his life. Being overlooked by them all, being forgotten by the world. Just a man in the shadows of giants. He sighed, and laid back in the chair. "Do it."